Hi, I'm Lulu,
Hi, I'm Sammy.
and we have two kids at Alpha. So our oldest son was in public school, and it was very clear to us the traditional model was not working for him. So my husband started looking for schools, and specifically, we were looking for alternative schools. Um, and we stumbled upon Alpha. Uh, we did a tour, and about 5 minutes into it, we were sold.
She started crying at the tour. And I thought this was a really bad tour, and it turned out to be tears of joy. So that was a good thing.
What I loved about it was that it just really allowed the option of a child learning at their own pace. Some kids are really good at math or really love science, but, maybe reading isn't like their strong side. And here you could just go as far as you can, as far as you want, as fast as you want in the topic that you love, that you're really good at, but still work hard at the other parts that are maybe not as strong, but you still need to work on them. Traditional schools just didn't offer that option, and we felt like that's really what our son needed.
Yeah, for me, Alpha, I mean, it checks a lot of boxes, but for me, yeah, the academics were really solid. So we got two kids in Alpha right now. And, whether you're looking at reading or writing or science or math, they're anywhere from 2 to 5 grade levels above, where they should be academically. So, and they're accomplishing that in, 2 hours a day of actual work. So, I know for a lot of parents, academics is a big deal. For me, it is. And so that box was easily checked and easily solved with Alpha. And then the rest of the time and the rest of the day is just, building, themselves as little human beings, life skills. I'm an entrepreneur, and so naturally I'm biased and want to see my children become entrepreneurs. But I think Alpha, lends itself well to, they want to go to a good college, they want to start a new business, they want to grow and develop outside of the academics. I think Alpha checks all of those boxes. So for me, it was academics, problem solved, but then the life skills were super cool. Just what they're learning outside of the academics, because I know the world is changing, and I feel like Alpha is kind of the best match or the best fit for that ever adapting and changing world. Yeah, other thing I like about Alpha is it does change. It's constantly changing and it's constantly evolving. And so if you have to look at the world 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I think Alpha is going to be the best fit to equip your kids with that skill set, whatever that skill set is going to be that they're going to need to succeed.
Well, I had a very visual experience with my daughter, where she was trying to learn how to juggle for a workshop. Now, I want to be very clear. I thought that was a really dumb workshop. I just didn't get it. But she really wanted to meet whatever that goal was. And I think she had to juggle for, I don't know, I think it was like a whole minute without dropping it was with scarves. And so she was like, I'm trying really hard, but I just can't do it, Mommy, can you help me? And so I sat with her, and she never really asks for help, but I guess she was really struggling with this. And I just pulled out my phone and took video of her. And I sat for like 2 hours and just watched her struggle through this. There were moments where she would just stop and start crying. And then we would sit. I was like, come look, you did better than the last one. And she just was definitely at some points like ready to give up. And then she'd go, no, I'm going to try again. And eventually she did it. She did reach her goal. But what was amazing to me was to visually see what this was doing. Like 2 hours, I am not exaggerating. We sat and she tried and she failed and she tried again and she did so much better and then she didn't. And it was just such an incredible revelation to me of really the human spirit, but just watching her struggle and make it. But if she hadn't tried over and over again, she just would never have done it. And we've seen that just translate into her real life, and just fail at things or think she's failing, and then just kind of take a deep breath, take a moment, go get back up, try again. This is just really something amazing that I feel like you don't really see it in such a simple but profound way in many other environments. So in Alpha, kids do workshops in the afternoons that teach them life skills. So the mornings they spend them doing core skills, which is the academic work, and the afternoons they do just life skills. And she was doing a workshop where she was learning grit. And one challenge she had was that she had to juggle, I believe it was 3 scarves for 60 seconds.
First thing I'd say about community, just visually walking into Alpha, it's just a fun space, and just a cool setup, and just the kids overall just look like they're having a ton of fun and like enjoying themselves. As far as the community itself, both of our children just really enjoy being around the other kids at school. Teamwork, group projects, sort of group success, group goals is a big deal at Alpha, and that's a new thing for children, and something that they need to grow into and kind of develop into. So our kids constantly, come home or sort of pop into the car, constantly talking about the other kids and learning this from XYZ kid or learning that from XYZ kid, and vice versa, right? Like teaching or supporting other kids, whether it's apps, whether it's life skills, whether it's projects. I think that's kind of how you learn. You learn from watching other people, and then you also learn from teaching other kids.
Something that I love about the Alpha community is that I think the families are really entrepreneurial. And so they bring kind of that element of that openness to trying to sell things and, make things. And just, we've seen it with both of our kids. Start little businesses with a friend, or, hey, can we bake cookies? Because I really want to sell them. And really get the support of the community, but also just that experience alone has so much to teach. Selling to people is not an easy thing. And seeing how the other parents support that for their own kids, as well as for their kids to support other people's kids, I think that is pretty unique.
I would say also, I think what Alpha does well is they celebrate successes, individual successes and group successes. And why is that important to me as a parent? Because that's what the real world is about, versus maybe other schools, they celebrate sort of individual successes, and it's very competitive, and it's kind of like I have to win, but somebody else has to live. So I love the fact that they celebrate, individual successes and group successes.
Our son just had this big challenge with his cohort. I think they were 6 or 7 kids. And in order for them to be able to participate in an activity, they all had to meet the individual goals and then the group goal. It wasn't like only those who meet their goals get to participate. It was an all or nothing. And they did it, but they really, really like cheered each other on. They held each other accountable. It was a group effort, and they did it. It was very hard. I know there were tears. It was great.
So EQ, emotional intelligence, is taught or nurtured or fostered in Alpha. So I think that's ridiculously cool and ridiculously unique. But what I've experienced as a parent, at least with the guides, is they really give sort of that one-on-one individualized like experience, and then a different child will get sort of that different EQ experience, and another child will get sort of a different EQ experience. So I mean, the guides are just stellar, but they have the ability and bandwidth to really like dive into that. I think it's really unique about Alpha. I mean, for me, why did we choose Alpha? The academics, I already talked about. We have 2 children in Alpha, and they're anywhere from 3 to 5 grade levels, above where they should be academically. So that's phenomenal. And then there's the life skills, right? And then that's a big topic and a broad topic. But in a nutshell, you're preparing your children for the real world, and for that ever-changing, ever-fast, ever-moving world. So I haven't seen any school that really focuses on life skills. And that's probably the number one reason we chose Alpha.
I want to add to that. I also feel like the sky's the limit at Alpha. They can really influence the direction of their experience, which is incredible for them to be able to say, I really want to accomplish this or create this, and share that with their guides, and have their guides support that and be like, hey, we have resources that can support that. What do you think about doing this? That just doesn't really happen anywhere else, for many reasons probably, but I think Alpha is by design intentional in this availability of just the sky's the limit. What do you want to do? And you see it really come to fruition in the high school, I think. But, I've seen really both of my kids with little experiences in their own levels, and just the incredible support from not just their guides, but the entire community, all the staff. They're like, yeah, okay, we can do that. And that's unique, and that's a treasure.
I'll chime in one more thing. I mean, we have our son. He's been in Alpha for 5 years, and I can say Alpha has changed, every single one of those years. And I can say Alpha has changed for the better. So fast forward 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the school is changing. The school is evolving, and setting our kids up for success. And compared to other schools, I see their models stick for, in some cases, 5, 10, 15 years or forever. So I love the fact that Alpha is changing and evolving, and in some cases, on a monthly basis or even a yearly basis. And that's what kids need. I love the fact that, our kids constantly are struggling and failing at Alpha. You keep bringing up the word grit. I always tell my wife, I'm like, there's 2 things I want to teach my kids in life, like grit and be like honest and like kind human beings. And so, but the concept of limitless, I don't know. Our daughter comes home one day and she's like, I'm going to be the greatest artist in the world and, open up, museums. Our son comes home some days with various business ventures or business ideas, and is very clear with me, that he wants to make a lot of money. But I mean, they come home all day with just sort of this, sky's the limit feeling on life and what they can do and what they can accomplished. So it's just exciting to see that. And the actual projects that they're working on are pretty amazing. You know, my daughter's designing and building a 30,000 home community for Tesla, which is, you know, she's 9 years old, and she's working on it. And so, you know, just really is limitless, really is sky's the limit. I've always known that, you know, kids can do a lot more than I think what adults and parents give them credit for. But I think Alpha just fosters that environment where they, you know, whatever your kid, you want your kid to go to Ivy League school, you know, Alpha checks that box. You want your kid to start up a business when they're 15 years old, Alpha checks that box. You want your kid to foster their creativity, whether it's in arts or theater or music, like Alpha checks that box. And really just instills with them the grit and the confidence to go out there and accomplish it.
One of my favorite things about Alpha is really the guides. You can tell that they love what they're doing. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional. They are so supportive and so committed. I just have never seen anything like this. My daughter had a maker's market and all her guides showed up. It was 30 minutes away too, which is an hour drive essentially, and they all came to support her. You know, our son has, you know, was really struggling, and, you know, his guide was like, what do you want? What do you want to do? And he's like, how about we plan a trip somewhere if we do certain things? And he's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's plan it. And they really just help them put into action and really also uncover the things that they want. But they do it, like, I feel they do it with open arms, like with an open heart. Like they really, really believe in what they're doing, and they really care about these kids so much that they will just go not the extra mile, the extra 10 miles to support them in whatever it is that they want to do. And I couldn't be more grateful for that, because you just really, really don't get that anywhere else. You get the love and you get support, but just the access and the dedication is just one of a kind.
So I will not cry, but the guides are the guides are stellar. You know, they're absolutely stellar. But I want to be clear, they're not babying your children.
No.
They're not solving problems for them. They're pushing them. They're supporting them. You know, the greatest places in the world are who they are because of the people, you know, that work there and operate. You know, Apple's a great company. Google's a great company. Not because of the company itself, but the people on the grounds. But the guides are really, really like just stellar, kind, supportive, like human beings.